Good morning. Welcome to another Monday Mindset. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. Give a second for people to join up. Today, we are going to talk about how your pipeline never lies. So we're coming to the final stretch of the first quarter. So hopefully you guys are on your way to hitting your quarter goals. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that we are good to go here. It looks like we are. Let me just make sure that you guys can hear me. Yep, awesome. So hopefully you guys are on your way to your quarter goals and you are smashing those goals. But if you're not, today's session will probably help you a little bit, right? This is Monday Mindset, where we talk everything about mindset and your money and your marketing. And, one of the things, the topic I wrote down was that your pipeline never lies. So the reason why this came into my mind to talk about is, last week was a busy week for me. I was in Atlantic City speaking on Monday, and then I was in Vegas in the middle of the week and then back. And today I actually did a session I coach one of the real estate agents on our team. So we have a team called Acre Brothers Realty, and Tim is one of the top real estate agents on the team. And, he usually closes between 8 and 10 houses a month, which is pretty incredible for real estate agents. And we were talking about his pipeline, and he has 38 in his pipeline, which is, pretty amazing. And we were saying, though, he's off track from hitting goal, and his pipeline is not healthy enough. And it got me thinking on this concept because I was speaking to the agents in Atlantic City last week. I was at Pinnacle Insurance's conference in Vegas and talking to agents there. And I realized that, majority of agents don't realize in their business how much of your business and how critical it is to have a well-managed and healthy pipeline. And I don't think people think about it that way. I think they think about leads, generating leads, and they think about like closing the actual lead to get a customer. But your pipeline is really everything in between and trying to make that happen. And do you have a well thought out and well managed pipeline? And I wrote down kind of the title, The Pipeline Never Lies, because your pipeline is a direct result of the activity and work you've done the last 30 to 90 days. So you can tell me all day that you have a ton of effort and you're working well in your business is going well. But your pipeline is going to tell me how well you've actually done. Meaning I know by how well Tim's pipeline is stacked, the work that he did 30 days ago. So, he can tell me that, yep, I'm prospecting 10 hours a week like I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing the things that I need to be doing. But if his pipeline's not stacked, I know he's not doing those things. And I just want to give you guys a couple points on your pipeline, that your pipeline is your what I call your lagging indicator. So what you're experiencing today is a result of what you did, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We all know that a sales cycle oftentimes is not a one-call close. You might need a one-call close mentality, but it's often not a one-call close. And I would challenge you to think about this question. If things feel slow to you right now, the real question is, what were you doing 60 days ago? What were you doing 30 days ago? And ultimately, today's results were yesterday's activities. So like today's results were yesterday's activities, and what you're doing today, so whatever you're going to do today for prospecting and outreach, you're planting the seeds for your pipeline in the future. And it's so critical you get the right what I call like right perspective, right expectation on your pipeline, because like I think of my sales team. So you guys know we have a ton of people on the phone. Maybe some of you have received phone calls from them. And we ultimately are telling people that, look, your pipeline, like you got to stack, you got to have 100 people. We call it a call to close or a call to qualify, but you've got to have 100 people in this pipeline. And your mission is to try to stack that pipeline every single day, because if you do those activities day in and day out to stack that pipeline, we know the deals will come. But if you don't do the activity to stack that pipeline, you're just literally what I call is like you're playing the lottery. You're just hoping you hit somebody at the exact right time where they're in the buying mode, where you get lucky and the deals come through. And so you need to understand that your pipeline is kind of the lagging indicator for your closes. That if you look at, okay, for us, it's, hey, I have 100 in my pipeline that are qualified and that I put in the kind of the call to closing bucket. That's my lagging indicator to get my actual closings that I need. Not only is your pipeline your lagging indicator, I wrote this down. I say most sales problems are actually activity problems. So we as agents, we often blame the market. We often blame the leads, right? How many of you have complained about the lead vendor that you have? I see it all over social media. It's not the leads. There's no bad leads. But we often blame the market, the leads, even the people. But we don't realize that so much of what our problem is that we haven't put in the activity. So most sales problems are actually activity problems, not the actual lead itself. And so if you think about your pipeline, you should know how many you need to have in your pipeline to get to the deals that you want. You should know the activity that it takes in order to stack that pipeline. So that's then gets you down to what? The third thing that I wrote down is your calendar should then represent what you need to do in activity to get the pipeline to what you need so you can get the deals. And if you think about it this way and do the work to really think about your pipeline this way, then your day actually becomes easier and less stressful. Because when you're in the world of just closing deals, like I'm a salesman, I got to go get leads and I got to close deals, it's really stressful because you're so focused on the result of closing deals and you get commission breath. Whereas if you actually focus on the things that you can control, then you know that the results are going to come. If I do the activity that I can control, the results will come. And there's this great process that happens. It's the process of iteration, meaning like as you do more of the activities, you refine and you get better. As you work out more, naturally you get better at working out. I remember when I started working out, right? It's like the lifting of the weights and the using the cables and all that stuff. You're naturally just not that good at it. You don't know exactly what to do. But if you start going to the gym consistently, day after day, week after week, year after year, you get very good at working out, even if no one's trained you how to work out properly. You just get very good. It's the process of iteration. So the same applies for calls. The same applies for running appointments and getting good at appointments. And so what I want to challenge you to think about and do today is I want you to think about, okay, how many deals do I want to close? How many policies do I want to sell? How many clients do I want to serve? What does my pipeline need to be? If I have 15 leads in my pipeline, I know I'll at least get 2 of those that I can serve. Okay, what does my pipeline need to be to hit my deals? What activity does it take to get leads into my qualified pipeline? Like this is a qualified lead that's going to close in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And then once you have the activities, what does my calendar need to look like from a time blocking perspective in order to generate that activity, to get that pipeline, to close those deals? And this is where it gets the rubber meets the road, because this is what I was coaching Tim through today. I said, Tim, you're crushing it right now. You're top 1% of real estate agents in the nation, bro, but you're not on track to hitting your deals. You closed 8 deals last month when you needed 10. And yes, you have 38 in your pipeline, but 38's not enough. You said it already. You need over 40 in your pipeline. And then we got to the prospecting and say, hey, I said, Tim, you say that you just need 10 hours of prospecting a week. So either your prospecting activity that you're blocking out in your calendar is not happening, or where it's happening is not focused in the right place, or you're not good at the prospecting you're doing. And so that's really, it's like I'm reverse engineering and going, okay, Tim, we either have to go from 10 hours of prospecting a week for you to 12. We have to get better at the 10 hours that you're doing from a skill perspective, or the 10 hours that you're doing is aimed at the wrong channel, and we need to find a more productive channel for you to aim those 10 hours at. And now we can start having like real actionable items that Tim can do in order to move the business forward. And I always tell people over the years I've been doing this, skill is probably the last thing that you want to first focus on from like a change or a goal perspective. And the only reason I say that is not because I don't want you to get better skill-wise. Skill is just so hard to move quickly. I've noticed this with my team and agents that I've coached, agents that I've worked with. It's like, oh, you've got to get better at the sales call. You got to get better at the appointment. Absolutely you do. but man, it's pretty hard and it takes a long time to develop skill and get better. So I always make that part of your focus, but don't rely on that to change your business. Try to take things that are more data driven. Oh, I'm doing 10 hours. Let me go to 12. I can literally control that today. I can change that today, that I'm going to do 12 hours of prospecting this week, not 10. And guess what happens? Because I'm doing 12, the iteration process kicks in and my skill naturally gets better because frequency creates greatness, right? And so I've seen people, they try to focus on their skill to get, better at closing. It's like, that's great. But the problem is you can't really control that. And now I'm going to be talking to you a week later, 2 weeks later, you still haven't hit your goal. And it's just like, yeah, I still got to get better. I got to get better. And you're going to constantly be telling yourself, I got to get better. Choose the things you can control. How often are you doing it? And then what channel are you actually prospecting on? And so that was the conversation we were having with Tim today. And then if you think about this in terms of like reverse engineering, I want this many policies or clients that I can sell. I need my pipeline to be this big in order to generate that many deals over 30, 60, 90 days, whatever your time frame is that you work in. And then here's the activity in order to generate that number of leads in a pipeline. And leads in your pipeline should be qualified people that you think you can close in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And then if I need this much activity to generate this big of a pipeline, here's how I'm going to time block it in my calendar, because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. I'm not going to do it. And then from there, you can get into, all right, what channel should I go after in the time blocking? And the concept here that I always live by is you want to double down on the things that work, and you want to lead with revenue. So you want to do the activities that produce the most revenue. You want to lead with the things that are working. So in the Tim example, he's in real estate, different industry than you guys. What was really working for him was throwing open houses. He had committed to throwing at least 2 open houses a week. So now he's upped it to where he's going to do at least 3 open houses a week and see if he can push that limit for him, because there's complicated things in the real estate industry of how many listings are available to run an open house in. But he was going to move that to 3 because he can control that, and that was his best producing channel. And then his other best producing channel was referrals. So he was going to go from 10 hours of prospecting to 12, but he was going to focus a ton of it on his sphere and following up with his sphere. So then I got down to, okay, Tim, if we know you have to do 12 hours of prospecting, we know the channels that produce our open houses and referrals for you. All right, what are the activities that dictate, like how are you measuring that you are actually calling your sphere? Well, in his CRM, he has these things called task. And in the task, he has overdues, and he has like 18 tasks he needed to complete today, but he had 182 overdue tasks, which are really a way of saying 182 people that he should be reaching out to, following up with, and should have done it already, but they're kind of overdue. So they're not a time-based overdue as like he needed to deliver by a certain date for these people. It's just, hey, I'm supposed to call Bob. I haven't talked to Bob in 3 weeks, a month. I should call Bob. So he put a task on Bob. He just hasn't gotten to that task yet. He had 182 of those. So then we set the goal. Okay, get that down to 100 by the time we meet. Again, get that down to 100 where you have kind of cut it in half. And here's another, it's tangential, but it's key, is I am such a believer on setting goals that you must hit so you can keep your integrity and it can build your confidence. I know there's a lot of people out there, believe in 10xing your goal and setting really huge goals, right, that you don't hit. And I agree with that from the concept of challenging yourself to think bigger and what would it take in order to get there and going through that process. But I have just found over the years that as I coach people, as I work with my own team, it's like people set these huge goals. They don't hit them. And then I'm like, hey, you didn't hit your goal. It's like, yeah, I didn't hit my goal. And that's it. Then life goes on. And it's like, I would rather you put on paper what you know you can do, that you know you should do, that stretches you a little bit, right? It's kind of like, okay, if this is what I know is easy, I'm going to stretch myself and do the stretch goal that I know I can do. And that way, when I talk to you, and this is just from a coach perspective or leader perspective, then I can say, hey, you failed. Like, you legitimately failed. You did not do the things that you were supposed to do, that you know you could have done, and you should be feeling bad and guilty and a little bit of shame because you're not that type of person. You're a person of integrity. You're a person of confidence. You're a person that does the things that they say they're going to do. And if you don't have that, I find that weakness creeps in. It's like people can make an excuse for themselves. Well, it was a 10x goal. It's like I would rather people go, no. You set a goal that you know you could have done and you should have done, and you should be disciplined in essence. And then you get really good. You got to find out the motivations of people. It's what's the discipline? What's the consequence when you don't hit this thing that you said you were going to hit? What are you going to do? And everybody functions a little differently, and you've got to find that for yourself. But that is essentially, giving you kind of the thought process of, look, your pipeline, it never lies. So if you're sitting here today and you go, man, my business is not where I need it to be. I'm not hitting the goals as we come to the end of the first quarter. I'm not hitting the goals. Well, that's a direct indication that you did not do the work to get your pipeline business big enough. You did not do the work. And you probably didn't do the work because you haven't intentionally thought about, well, what is the work that I need to do? What does my machine need to look like? Because you can't control the results. If you set out and you wanted to serve 50 people and you're only at 38, that's a math equation. Well, okay, how did I get to the 38? How many people were in my pipeline to get to the 38? How many activities did it take to build that pipeline to get to the 38? How many activities? Okay, how much time did I spend prospecting it to do those activities? Or how much time did it take to do them? And what channels did those activities come from? And if you do that thought process and take the time to actually sit down and document that out, you're going to see, well, if I did 38 by doing X, then I need to mathematically do Y in order to get 50. You can do the actual math problem that helps you get there in this business. So that is my Monday mindset for you. Is the pipeline never lies. And if you're not where you're at, where you want to be in your business, you've got to do the math equation and the breakdown for your pipeline. So I hope that helps somebody out there today. Business is hard, but not complicated, is what I have found. It is very hard because it takes consistency. It's very hard because it takes confidence. It's very hard because, oftentimes you're getting rejected and you're facing adversity 24/7, so you got to push through. But it is not complicated. Nothing I went through there is like putting a rocket ship on Mars, as we all say, that Elon Musk is doing. We don't have to be rocket scientists, but it takes almost something even harder than that. It takes, not just head knowledge, it takes heart, knowledge. The ability to be so committed to it that you'll actually see it through and do it. And this is why the best entrepreneurs, you guys know I have a podcast called Stay Paid. I've been at it for 8 years or so. 700, maybe 800 episodes now. And I've talked to so many entrepreneurs over the last 8 years, so many incredible ones. And it's just amazing that the key theme behind all of them is my sign behind me. They take action. They have belief. They're not the smartest. They're just willing to endure the pain, never give up. They have what's called grit. They just keep pushing. They keep iterating. They don't overthink. They take action at a massive level. When somebody thinks something's going to take 30 days, they get it done in 30 minutes because they are not overthinking it, and they're willing to take ridicule and abuse and be wrong and fail and mess up and be embarrassed in front of people. And so I would just challenge you today, if you're struggling, if your business is not where you want it to be, you're probably not taking enough massive action. So first start with, what are the activities you need to do to grow the pipeline that you need it to be at to get the deals that you want done? Start there, and you will just relieve so much stress from your business. And then you have to do the things that you just mapped out. That's the key. Do the thing, have the power. Get out there and win for yourself, for your clients, for your family. Appreciate you guys. Happy Monday. Let's make it happen.